Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now.
Put some respect on it because everything that you got now, you would not have touched anything if it would not have been us being friends to you and your family. That's why I don't like fake people.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the new episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 6, Episode 19. We pick up with Marsau and Melody. Remember, they were having this meeting where Mel was confronting him for a few things, and she was saying that she thinks Marsau wants her and Tisha to be in a bad place, and he says that's not true. He wants them to be in a good place, and Mel says, well, that's not what your actions show. As far as what he told the Fletchers about her, Marsau says that he owns the jabs that he gives, and he stands by what he said, that a t-shirt business is not something with high value for him. And Mel was getting very upset, and rightfully so. She even had to fight back and defend herself, and what she does. He says, well, what do you do besides t-shirts? And she says, well, I do property preservation. I started a company. He says, a company that went bankrupt. I was like, oh my gosh, he is the definition of a troll. I felt bad for Melody in that moment because it must suck having to prove yourself to someone, which, like, she doesn't have to do, like, screw what he thinks. But she was getting very frustrated, and he says, well, that was just my opinion. And she tells him, well, your opinion is a disgrace. He is then somewhat able to see what she's saying, so he kind of does apologize in a way, and he says that he definitely does value her as a person and what she does with marketing. And he says that from this day going forward, they should agree that having an opinion is not the same as taking a jab. Which, again, they both agreed, but I'm sure Mel is going to have a field day with that agreement. Last thing that Marsau says to her is that since he does respect her, he would appreciate her feedback because Maurice and Kimmi are doing a little meeting about some feedback for the Expo, so he would love for Mel to be there. So you see right there, it shows you that what she does have to say is valuable. The next scene is Tiffany and Whitlow and the baby going to the park. And right from the very beginning, Tiffany was saying, like, oh, what a nice moment that you're actually here. You should set up the picnic because you're never here. Little passive-aggressive comments like that. So once they sit down, she says that she does have some sort of postpartum depression, which my heart goes out to her. But then she says that she thought life was going to be the same after she had Ace. And I was like, huh? Wait a minute. How are you going to grow a human inside of your womb, give birth to it, and expect life to be the same? Of course not. Like, it's not going to be the same. It sounded like this was the first time she had ever given birth. And again, her feelings of being tired, feeling like she isn't doing anything since she's not working, like, all of that is understandable. But she's also complaining about Lou being away. Like, will he cheat? Or will it affect the baby the same way it affected Lou not to have his father? And what if she needs him? And he says, listen, I do spend time with my family, and when I spend time with y'all, like, it's real quality time. Like, I'm fully there in the moment. But she keeps saying that she wants more time, and he says, well, do you want me to stop working? And I think he's right. I mean, someone needs to be bringing the money, and he is the man of the house. So he has to work. He needs to provide. Maybe what Tiffany needs is maybe like a mommy support group or something like that, because I do think that her feelings are valid as far as what she's experiencing after having the baby. But as far as like saying, oh, you need to have more, like, I don't think that's really realistic. I mean, how else are they going to get money, But that was that scene. And then we move on to this next scene where they have the meeting about the Expo. First thing I noticed is that Stormi totally gave Marsau the cold shoulder. She didn't even say, hey, how are you? Nothing. Didn't even acknowledge him. Which, Stormi, come on. Grow up. Like, you're definitely your mama's child. That's clear now. But to start the meeting, Marsau starts telling the people about him and Melody's little conversation that they had in this recent meetup and whether he found her business valuable and stuff like that. Martell did jump in to defend Melody, but Melody says, well, you know what, he did apologize, so we're good. But they begin some more discussion about the actual event. One of the things Mel and even Tiffany suggests is getting to know more of the audience, having different, like, some people who are like makeup artists or photographers, like really giving some very valuable feedback of what they could do to really improve the next time they have an expo. Then Stormi says that she feels like the expo was lacking the motivational aspect. And Marsau jumps in and says, I think that a lot of the time when you have these motivational speeches, they're sort of rah, rah, rah. And the people sometimes leave not knowing what to do. And Stormi quickly says, well, that's not what I'm talking about. And Marsau says, I didn't say that's what we were talking about. I'm talking about motivational speeches. And before you know it, it was like a sass battle. Stormi and Marsau, like kind of like Nene and Kim, like this side, that side, this side, that side. Super catty. So Stormi says to Courtney that maybe he should say something. So Courtney says to Marsau, maybe you should let your wife lead because she's much more organized than you. I mean, it was ridiculous, and I personally think both sides were very childish and very immature. So Kimmi had to sort of step in and break this up. Then Melody says, giving some more valuable feedback that she feels like there should be just a little bit more organization, and Tisha gets very triggered. She says, well, it was organized. We could have done better behind the scenes, but it was for sure it was organized. And I mean, it was very clear that, as Tisha would say, the event was not that organized. So it kind of showed you that, first of all, Tisha and Mel are never going to be friends, but it shows there's something that Tisha has against Melody and perhaps a little jealousy, I don't know, but the way she reacted to that comment was pretty telling. But then Melody has to say goodbye because she has a flight to catch. Then Tiffany makes some sort of shady comment about Marsau if he values women. So he starts going at it with her. And underneath her breath, Stormi calls Marsau a bitch. And I thought that was very inappropriate and unprofessional because here's the thing. A lot of people are not able to separate a person from a situation, which is sad that some people don't have the mental capacity to do so. They're a little bit limited. And I say this because I don't want people to think I'm defending Marsau in any way, like him as a person. What I'm saying is, you got to think about it. This is a professional business meeting. So for Stormi to not only use an ad hominem attack, but to use expletives is downright wrong. She lacks the professionalism, and that's why she has had so many delays in her orders. I mean, are we going to be real or not, people? It's like, for example, let's go back to that meeting Marsau and Melody had in the beginning of the episode. Melody was able to fight, not once calling him out of his name, much less saying a bad word. And that's because Mel is a professional. But anyway, Marsau can tell that she's trying to provoke him, so he says, yup, I'm a big bitch. Now what? So, but again, he's like a little big baby, always wanting to get the last word. So Stormi and her husband ended up leaving, and that was what this meeting about the Expo and the event was about. I was like, can we please not hear about this again? But unfortunately, that's not the last time we heard about it, because in this next scene, Kimmi invited Nel to her office in this next scene because Kimmi had sort of thought about maybe inviting Nel, but she ended up not doing so. So because they did have the meeting, she knows that sooner or later it will get back to Nel. So she kind of just wants to get ahead of it and just let her know what the meeting was about and kind of why she didn't invite her, which the reason Kimmi gave was she understood Nel had some concerns and some points to get across. But since she wasn't actually in the Expo, it really wouldn't make sense for her to be there. Of course, Miss Nel disagrees, but they sort of just agree to disagree. And it actually, after they talked about it, it actually ended up being okay. Like, they even laughed and joked and really good vibes. So with Kimmi and Nel, as far as their dynamic goes, they're perfectly fine. So then we get to the last scene, which is Martell going to some working area. He claims to working on something. I don't know about all that, but he did say in his confessional that after he divorced Melody and he had to file for bankruptcy, his credit went to the gutter. Like, it's horrible. So he's now ready to start, up and doing his thing in real estate. Then Chris Fletcher joins him, and they were talking a little bit about this project. And there was another man here who I had no idea who he is, but he was chiming in like he was the main character. But they were talking about this project Martell is doing, and perhaps it will be finished by September. And Martell says, maybe I'll keep it, or maybe I'll sell it, or maybe I'll just rent it. So Chris says, speaking of which, when are you moving out? And Martell says, about a week. And Chris says, well, we talked about this, man. My clients need to move into the house so I can sell it. But Martell, he does not want to leave. So Chris says, I'm sorry, man, but you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do by this weekend. Like, he needs to be out. Okay, but then they speak about one last thing, which is, remember that little dinner that the Fletchers had with the Scotts? Well, Chris is sort of gossiping and reporting back to Martell all of the things that Marsau and Tisha said, and especially that shady comment about Mel. Martell went off. She says that Marsau needs to show some respect, that he's fake, that he's done with him, that his business can be taken away from him anytime because God doesn't play and neither does he. Martell, I'm going to need you to find the house first because I can't take him seriously. Although I do appreciate him sticking up for Melody, but it looks like he's going to be very bothered by these little comments that were made. And next episode, he will be confronting Marsau over that. And then next episode, we will also be getting some more Keke, who's going to say that there's a rumor about Marsau cheating on another woman. So I can't wait for next week. This episode was a little bit boring, nothing too exciting, but I did enjoy it because I love the show. But this dynamic that this group has is out of the, I don't even know, that meeting was out of this world. But anyway, you guys, what were your thoughts specifically on the meeting? Do you think it was productive? And what are your opinions about Stormi calling Marsau a BATCH? Let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. You have a great one. Bye.